My general manager, Mr. Stedman, telling me, well, Abner, we don't condone what you did in New Orleans, and we think you led them. They wrote me a letter, 2-page letter, explaining to me how a football player's role is not to help his people. All I'm supposed to do is to play football and keep my mouth shut. Within 2 days, 2 or 3 days, I was traded to Denver. You'd be surprised how many were out of the game within a year or two. I know Cookie Gilchrist's career went down the drain after that. But I'm more concerned with being a good dad. And my son's not here, and 20 and 30 years later, how I chickened out and didn't have no backbone. It was time for some men to stand up and be counted. I think that's what we did.
Okay. Hey, Dad, tell me this. You say you remember Uncle July? Grandpa July.
Yes. Grandpa July died a year before I was born. He died in 36.
Okay.
I was born in 37.
Okay, and he had how many brothers he had?
15.
Wait a minute, you telling me my great-great-grandfather had 15 brothers? Okay.
And my daddy had about 12 brothers and sisters. It was a bunch of them.
Wow.
Yeah. And I know I got it in my book. My grandpa and them took them out of South Carolina and brought them to Texas in a wagon. And that's how they got it.
Wait, hold up. A covered wagon?
Yes. And that's why you find Hayneses from North Carolina, Mississippi, Texas, Georgia. One or two of them would say, we're going to look for a job. We'll catch up with y'all. And they'd stop in Jackson, Mississippi. And Grandpa
Haynesville, Louisiana.
Yeah, or Louisiana, all the way down from Haynesville, South Carolina. That's right. And when he got to Jewett, it wasn't about 10 of them still with him. And Daddy was one of them. Uncle Eddie, Uncle Roy, Uncle Jesse, Uncle Joe. I got him, man. Ain't Tootie, ain't Alfred.
Well, how'd we get all that family in California?
Because California was the main thing during segregation that Grandpa, Dad and them would send you as a family member to go to college. My sister went to beauty school out there. Sam was in Stockton, California, coaching at the College of Pacific. Noah was at the University of Denver. We was always sent, soon we got big enough, out of segregation, and it would be Colorado and California where they primarily sent us.
Okay, makes sense.
And I was the last one. And that's why I was wanting to go to Colorado. One of the reasons that I had relatives all over Denver. And I liked it, Denver. And I liked it being out of Texas. And that was the big thing when North Texas come along. And I'm trying to get, and Colorado offered me a scholarship. I'm gonna take that.
All right.
But Dad and them sit me down at the Haynes family meeting. We think you could really encourage black kids, white kids, brown kids, if you could go to North Texas and let them see you every day, being a student, playing ball, whatever y'all gonna do. You could affect our whole area.
Dallas-Fort Worth.
And I ain't
not to mention Texas.
I ain't but 16.
In the South.
Marcel and them, Cutting Aubrey, he was a porter. Aubrey was. He drove
on the train?
Yeah. And that's how I got to Denver. I rode, the train stopped in Denton, picked me up, and we went to Denver. Train stopped in Denton, man. That tripped me and Maxine out.
Denton, Texas.
Yeah. And Judge let me eat on the train. Oh, that was a wonderful trip. I guess I was about 9 or 8. So anyway.
Anyway, all right.
That's how I had to leave Denton. So, okay. Then went to Vallejo.
Bring me back. I got, you said.
So the family was all in Denton. They had left Jewett. And even Grandpa and Grandma had left Jewett. They had left 10,000 acres and come to Denton, where Daddy was preaching.
All right.
And so
the St. Andrew?
St. Andrew Church of God in Christ. Same location.
All right.
And so I remember when the KKK used to come down to the church. And
KKK come to the church?
Yes. They would march to the church.
They had a problem with y'all worshiping God.
With y'all gathering. See, they didn't want us, just like the Kona. I told you about the Kona.
Right,
they didn't want blacks assembling, talking to each other, playing.
Not even in church.
Not even in church, Judge. And yet we had white members.
Of the Church of God in Christ?
Yes.
Okay.
Tons of them when I was coming up.
Nice.
And it just started, I won't say lately, but black folks and white folks used to go to the Holiness Church together. And then, and I remember being proud of my uncles, because that night the KKK came down there. They didn't run. I saw Uncle Eddie behind the outhouse.
Oh, hold up. KKK came where?
Came to the church.
Okay. Uncle Eddie and them was out there?
Uncle Eddie, all the Daddy's brothers and sisters were there, because they always was at church. They spread it out. And there was a park right in front of us. And they was all out in there and had shotguns and stuff. And I'm in a daze, me and Maxine.
How old were you then?
Maybe 8, 9,
all right.
10. And I had never, you don't know about your family. And I was living the thing, but I don't know why I thought my uncle and them would run. And they didn't. They ran to their guns. And it looked like to me they were spreading out. And
somebody said they was up in the trees. Was they up in the trees?
They was all over, man. And I'm holding my daddy's hand. I'm standing up here holding my daddy's hand. And Judge ain't running. Okay. And so where we lived there was a church, then a park right here, and then there was my house.
Okay.
So it was the black part.
Yeah.
And
Southeast Denton.
Yes. And I skipped home. Just excited, all that shit was going on. And the KKK finally left. And Daddy and them come on home. By then, Uncle Willie done got up and got the word. My mama's brothers and sisters had got the word.
Them Alexander.
Yes, and they showed up. And we sit on the front porch all night in Denton. My front porch, the house in Denton had a long porch, and then it went that way. And so that just changed what I thought of my family, my uncles and aunties. I didn't I didn't know they wasn't scared. I knew Uncle Willie wasn't scared, and Uncle Marvin. But Uncle Eddie was a Christian man. I had never seen him mad like that. And
Wow.
I went on home.
I remember Uncle Eddie.
You do?
Yeah, wasn't he the one that used to be around then?
Yeah, he was the oldest.
Okay.
He was the oldest. And
he had a reputation with that.
yeah, with that knife. He taught me how to use that knife when I was 10 years old.
Yeah.
And how to pull it out and have it ready to go. How to pop it. There was a little button on the switchblade, they call it.
Greetings. I am King David Haynes, author, creator, and producer of Abner Haynes, An American Hero. Some men play the game, others change it forever. My father, Abner Haynes, did both. He didn't just play football, he changed the game.
Two of the men who had a lot to do with this victory today. Abner, congratulations on tying that all-time pro touchdown record.
Thank you, Frank. Thank you very much.
You're traveling in good company. How did you feel on getting that last one?
Well, I was quite elated of getting a touchdown. I'd been thinking about it all week. You know, we had been teasing about it, and just got lucky and got a chance to get it, and we did.
My father's story begins in Denton, Texas. Abner Haynes was born on September 19th, 1937, to my grandparents, the late Bishop F.L. Haynes and Ola Mae Haynes. My dad was the youngest of 7 children. He had 3 older brothers and 3 sisters. They grew in a wonderful home. The world of segregation was their reality. And at the time, my dad always used to tell us that they had uncles and aunts that lived in houses on both sides of their house. It was truly back then the thing of the village raising the child. It took a whole village. He had a wonderful childhood, as has been explained to me, for years from my dad and aunts and uncles that lived through it. They had lots of love. The house was maintained through Bishop Haynes with an order, discipline, commitment, and faith in our Lord and Savior Jesus Christ. Dad would begin to hone his athletic gifts there in Denton as a little boy. Being the youngest, they played sports just like, many of us have all day long. And he was constantly playing with older kids. I've always thought that had a lot to do with his successes, because from a young age, he was honing his physical abilities, his escapability, his moves, and everything against boys that were older than him and supposedly more developed. But his father was one of the real keys in his life and got him started off on the right foot. The church, he was my grandfather, Bishop F.L. Haynes, was a bishop in the Church of God in Christ. And he wasn't a bishop when my dad was born. He worked developed his way through helping and starting churches, and his unwavering commitment to the Lord, the church began to recognize him and elevate him, provide more resources for him. And that was a critical part in why my dad succeeded. So he used to always tell us that every day of the week they were in church somewhere. My grandfather eventually pastored 3 different churches at the same time. He had a church in Denton, Texas, where they lived. He had a church in Dallas, and he had a church in Mahia, Texas. The church eventually moved my grandfather to Dallas. That's how the family ended up in Dallas, is because of the bishop's success in bringing souls to Christ and in starting and growing churches. The church wanted him to take on more, and so they moved him to Dallas. They elevated him to one of the leaders in the state of Texas, and they wanted him to work out of Dallas so he could help more people. And that's how the family got to Dallas. Like many young men of his time, my father grew up in a world of segregation. It was defined by segregation. That was, the overriding theme of everything was the separation of the races. My dad used to tell me all the time how when they were in school, they got books that the white students had already used. And many times when he would open what was a new book for him, there would be racist messages written all in the book. And, this was just the way the world was in those times. But it developed a strength in my father, a discipline, a determination to overcome and to be a beacon of hope for his people, that they may overcome this situation that they found themselves in through segregation. That foundation is what carried him into Lincoln High School in Dallas. It's a funny story. My dad he was a member of the only class of Lincoln High School that went to school there for 5 years. When the family moved to Dallas, Abner was going to the 8th grade. And there were only 2 junior high schools in the city of Dallas that blacks could attend. And both of the junior high schools were woefully overcrowded, so much so that they sent my dad and the rest of the 8th graders home to high school, to Lincoln High School. And so they went to Lincoln High School for 5 years instead of 4. And Lincoln, he didn't just compete, he stood out. And here again, he was honing and refining, expanding the physical gifts that he had. They had great teachers at Lincoln. The teachers again, because of segregation, were serious about the students. They were attentive and took each one as an individual, and they were trying to help them navigate the world that they found themselves in. My dad was, his first love wasn't football, it was track and field. And I could tell a lot of stories about track and field, but he eventually won a state championship as a sophomore in high school in Texas, which you sports people would know in track and field, that's a pretty serious accomplishment to win any kind of medal in Texas in track. He was a hurdler. He used to tell me all the time how his high school coach came to him one day. They used to play this game called Pitch It Up. You know, it'd be 100 boys out on the field, and you just throw the ball up in the air, and whoever catches it tries to score. And so it's one against everybody else. And I think he learned, further refined his broken field running like this. But he loved track first. He didn't even play football as a ninth grader. And he started playing, I think, as a sophomore. And he tells me how the starting running back, he was a linebacker at first, and the starting running back, they were in practice one day, and Dad met the starting running back in the hole, hit him so hard he knocked him out, and the coach told him, "You knocked him out, you get in there and play his position." And Dad never gave the job up after that point. Lincoln was a tremendous springboard for Abner Haynes. He loved the school and the people, the neighborhood. His whole life, we all are great supporters of Lincoln High School, and we just loved what they did for my dad and the foundation that they gave him. At a time when opportunity was limited and the odds were stacked against him, he rose, not just as an athlete, but as a pioneer. History does not change on its own. It changes because certain people refuse to accept the world as it is. My father, Abner Haynes, was one of those people. Before barriers began to fall, there were pioneers willing to walk through them alone. My father, Abner Haynes, helped lead the way. Every generation has a few people bold enough to challenge the world around them. My dad, Abner Haynes, was one of them. Real change begins with the people willing to stand alone before others dare to follow. My father, Abner Haynes, stood at the front of that line. His journey didn't begin under bright lights. It began in Texas, in a different America. In the story of American sports, there are names that fill stadiums, and then there are names that change the meaning of the game itself. Before the lights, before the headlines, before the world was ready, there was a young man from Dallas who refused to wait his turn. Before opportunity was equal, there were barriers, lines drawn not by talent, not by effort, but by the color of a man's skin. And in that divided world,
6 months after the Civil Rights Act was signed, the AFL All-Star Game was scheduled for New Orleans, a city without a professional sports team. Black players soon discovered that New Orleans' red carpet was for whites only.
We were the last athletes or the last guys you want to try to intimidate.
it took more than ability to succeed. It took courage. It took fortitude. It took commitment. Maybe most of all, it took faith. This is the story of Abner Haynes. At a time when college football in Texas was still segregated, Abner Haynes became the first black athlete to break through those walls.
In every victory of integration achievement during the Civil Rights Movement, there was a first. And in 1956, Abner Haynes and Leon King became the first black athletes to integrate football at a four-year college in Texas. But their success didn't come without struggle at the University of North Texas. Both Leon and Abner had scholarship offers to the University of Colorado, where black student athletes were accepted, free to live and eat on campus. The choice seemed easy, but Abner, the son of Bishop F.L. Haynes, saw the bigger picture.
Dad was a giver, and he had a heart for his community. I mean, the expression, faith, family, football, that it's not far off, but I would put community in there.
Abner was raised through the St. Andrew Church of God in Christ, a church that started in 1922, a time when segregation laws pushed blacks into the outskirts of town, and Abner's father and church members were still harassed because of the color of their skin.
His father went to Denton, and his church was burned down twice. His eggs were thrown, and he picked up those eggs and went home and made some eggs. I think he learned, or he did by example.
Like his father, Abner felt the support within his community,
helping to integrate the game at its highest levels. He didn't just show up, he dominated. His speed, vision, and intelligence made him one of the most electrifying players of his era. But his impact didn't stop there on the field. In 1956, when Abner Haynes arrived on the campus of North Texas State College, he began a new era. There was a new awakening started. Abner, his teammates, and coaches proved that we could be a better nation. They proved that we could come together, work together, and win together. I'm sure after talking to these men for years, Abner's teammates, the white guys on the team, none of these 18 and 19-year-olds were thinking about their role in history, their places in history. They just came there to play college football and were smacked in the face with the reality that the school was going to be integrated. The team was going to be integrated from now on. They were products of good Christian families who embraced fairness, opportunity, and brotherhood. It's not a story is all rosy. There were naysayers. Many did not agree with the choice the school made to provide opportunity to others. Some quit the team that day. Others wouldn't shower with the black teammate. There were bumps in the road, mountains, if you will. But in time, enough of the fair-minded, of the forward-thinking, held sway. In time, the players came together after working together in the hot Texas sun in August, after getting to know Abner Haynes. His infectious spirit won the day. Those players off of that 1956 freshman team initiated and started an organization. North Texas is the Eagles, are the Eagles. And they started an organization called the Bald Eagles later in their playing careers. And they have all remained tight and brothers since that time. Sports has a way, and it's been historically proven, that sport has in other cases moved the country forward. It's been a proving ground and a wonderful means to bring different people together. Let them see that we all bleed alike, that we are more alike than different. We think of sport as just being fun and enjoyable, but there are other examples I won't go into, but sport has been a great equalizer and has moved us to be a better nation as we come together and respect each other, love each other. And that's what these men did. I'm not going to start calling names, but they know who they are, and the rest is history. Abner Haynes went on to star in the pros. He went with the new league that Mr. Lamar Hunt was organized in 1960 after his epic college career. My dad had already been drafted by the Pittsburgh Steelers of the NFL. It was different in those days. The draft was not held in April like it is now. My dad has told me many times how they had a bowl game. They were going to play in the Sun Bowl as his last college game in El Paso. And he's already drafted by the NFL, but Mr. Lamar Hunt of the Kansas City Chiefs had established a new league, the AFL, which eventually merged with the NFL, and the teams of the AFL are the basis of what the AFC is now. Mr. Hunt was at the game at the Sun Bowl and signed Abner to his first contract under the goalpost after the Sun Bowl, and the rest is history. 1956 marked a turning point in my father Abner Haynes' life, and a turning point in this country's history. The world was beginning to shift, slowly and not without resistance. Lots of resistance. For my father, this was more than a moment in time. It was the beginning of a challenge that he would accept and would change and test everything he had. The path ahead wouldn't be easy, but he was ready. His father had him ready. The way Dad explained it to me over the years, it was the bishop, his father, Bishop F.L. Haynes, who started to mention that after his stellar performance in high school, his outstanding career in Lincoln High School in Dallas, that Dad was a good football player and he was going to be all right wherever he went to college. But he could do something that helped everybody. He could choose something that went further than just taking care of himself. Recruiting was different back in those days. My father attended an all-black school in a black area of Dallas, Texas. Colleges didn't send anyone there, but the University of Colorado did. And Dad, as a 17-year-old who is experienced and lived his whole life under segregation and Jim Crow, was very tempted to go to the University of Colorado. He has told me many times that they were his leader in his recruitment. But he heard his father's voice. He knew that Bishop Haynes had friends, powerful friends and allies in Denton, Texas, where the University of North Texas was. My dad knew he had relatives that were still there. They had moved to Dallas, but he had an Aunt Essie. Aunt Essie owned a cafe in the black part of Denton. And due to the fact that it was illegal for my dad to eat on the campus of the University of North Texas, let alone sleep there, these questions and these issues were real. He was going to have a way to overcome those things. And here again, it was going to be my dad's choice. It was always his decision as to where he would go to college. But the bishop, being a leader of churches and a leader of black families, knew that if Abner could do this successfully, not only would it help him, but it could help the members' children to achieve or even have a chance to try at their own goals, at their own careers, what they dreamed of. And he thought his son, my dad, could do it. This was something that could help everybody, black and white, Texas or anywhere else in the South, to have real opportunity to change and improve their own lives. It wasn't how it is now back then. Papa Dad had seen and known all too well what the members of his church went through in their daily lives. The children their children probably weren't great athletes like Abner was, that universities would seek to add to their teams. But if Abner could do this, the myths could be shattered. The thought that my dad could successfully integrate and go to school with whites, they would start to understand that we were capable of doing so without harm to white students. Abner could help to break down the stereotyping of that era, that we couldn't be on time. We weren't trustworthy. We all steal. And that's exactly what happened. Dad was really drawn to the University of Colorado, which was integrated, but he trusted his own father. He knew that he would run into challenges and would run into prejudice and hate at a white school in Texas at that time. But if he met the challenge and overcame the obstacles, it could have long-lasting implications. My grandfather explained to Dad how his decision on where he would go to college could help the church members' children be able to attend the university themselves, lift up all of our people. They were developing the vision of breaking down a gigantic barrier that held our people back. Papa Dad is what we call my grandfather, Bishop Haynes. Papa Dad thought that other kids would see what Abner was doing by taking on segregation directly. They would see what Abner was doing and get inspiration for their own dreams. On top of all the good that could potentially be done, Dad knew he had those several aces in the hole, so to speak, in Denton, that would help make this daunting task more doable. And that's what they did. After many family meetings, discussion, and a plan of action that was put together, Dad made the decision to take on this monumental task and accept the challenge of integration at North Texas State in Denton. Although there were many challenges still ahead, his path was set. Dad often remarked to me how they didn't have to call the National Guard to escort him to class like in some situations. While there were certainly people against integration, the people of Denton, Texas, didn't riot in the streets at the thought of blacks and whites playing football together. Dad thought the people of Denton, as well as the University of North Texas, should be commended and recognized for what they did. They were the first in the South to do this with a black athlete. The vision and leadership they showed positively affected so many students who came after that. It didn't have to be. They didn't have to do. They didn't have to step out and become the first to go through this. You see, although not everyone approved, the people of Denton and key individuals at UNT were forward-thinking and more fair-minded than what was happening everywhere else in the South, which was a blessing for all involved. My father and I talked for years as he would tell me of his upbringing and football career. Sure, he had God-given talent, but to negotiate being the first to break down such a volatile barrier, a volatile emotional barrier, to this day as segregation, took a special person as they were special circumstances. Yes, Dad could have gone to integrated colleges. He could have gone to the University of Colorado. They wanted him badly. But he also had a chance to change the system in Texas and the South for untold others who would now have opportunity at higher education instead of being artificially excluded. I think that's what my grandfather, Bishop Haynes, knew. He knew his own son, and he knew the type people that were in Denton, Texas. My grandfather was sure Abner could do it. Dad always felt like his story was not that of the evil or racist white people. That's not what he would highlight. Although I speak the truth the way it was told to me of what happened, that's not our focus. We don't seek to place blame. Far beyond that, it is the story of those who were further along in their thinking. It's the story of people who were fair enough to at least give him the chance to compete. It is the story of young men coming together in pursuit of the same goal, to win, in defense of what was right, fairness, equality. An American story of overcoming is what this is. Overcoming adversity, hard work, perseverance, and courage. Dad expected opposition. He never gave much thought to those who were against him. His own father, Bishop Haynes, had him believing that the opposition, the insults, the name calling were all just a test of his faith. They knew that was coming, and so that did not knock him off of his path.
When asked about the future of the NFL, Haynes had one thing to say.
I'd like for the NFL to address some black ownership so that everybody is getting to participate in the league. I understand the situation, but there's nothing too hard for us to address. And when the owners get grown enough and broad enough where they can say, well, I see what they're talking about. Let's bring some black ownership in here. Let's bring some brown ownership in here. Let's spread it around, and it's everybody's game, not just ours. Then I'm looking forward to that. I don't know if I'll see it, but I'm looking forward to the humans feeling like everybody's welcome at the table.
It was a tremendous success. Dad wanted to make sure his fans knew of those who made a difference, those who were on his side and supported him, helped him, who were about fairness and equality. They were the exact right group of people at the right time in history. While at other schools they were busy explaining why they could not let black players play, UNT stepped out in faith, which upended the status quo. We found out later that head coach Otis Mitchell had not even informed all of his assistant coaches that the team was now going to be integrated, let alone informing the players. When my father stepped onto that field, he wasn't stepping into a game. He was stepping into history. My father tells me how that first day when he arrived at the stadium, all of the players were milling around outside of the coaching office, and they stopped in their tracks when they saw the black young man emerge from the taxi. 3 of the players stood up and started walking directly to Dad. I think he's told me he thought that these were probably the enforcers, coming to let him know in no uncertain terms that he was not welcome. But that's not what it was at all. These were leaders of the team, people that were a credit to their families and the way they were raised. Quarterback Vernon Cole, his brother Charlie Cole, and Garland Warren. They came out and shook my dad's hand and told him, "Welcome to North Texas." It was on. Lamar Hunt was the owner of the Dallas Texans / Kansas City Chiefs. And I have on a Chiefs jersey in honor of those old teams and in honor of Mr. Hunt, who I thought and Dad thought quite a lot of. He was the founder of the AFL. He saw what others did not or would not. He saw talent, he saw leadership, he saw potential. The opportunities that presented would change everything. It opened the door to the next level, and my father, Abner Haynes, was ready to walk through it. The times were different back then. The NFL did not hold its draft in April like it does now. There was about a month between UNT's last regular season game against Drake and the bowl game, the Sun Bowl. This is the time Dad was going to have to decide the direction his life would take going forward. He had already been drafted by the Pittsburgh Steelers of the NFL. He was also talking to the Winnipeg Blue Bombers of the Canadian League, as some black players of that time went that route to escape the Jim Crow attitudes and built-in racism that was dominant here. Canada didn't have segregation, and its people seemed above needing others to know that they hate them. After what Dad had just gone through for 4 years in college, I know, from what he's told me all my life, that was very appealing to him. To get out of the situations in the 50s and the 60s in Texas, in the United States. Dad even flew to Winnipeg and met with them during the dead time before the bowl game. This was not against any rules of that day. The NFL was there and had a few black players sprinkled across a few teams, but at that time, there were still many of its teams that didn't have a single black player. They were dragging their feet on integration, as I imagine they had to go at a pace the public could handle. And the public was used to segregation. There also was the new league, the AFL, which was founded, as I said, by Mr. Hunt, Mr. Lamar Hunt. He was a fair man whom Dad always called a great human being. A creative man whose business model for his league included bringing in more black players, particularly those from traditional black universities. While the NFL at the time had a few blacks, they completely ignored all the players from the HBCUs. The Dallas Texans, Kansas City Chiefs profited greatly from this approach, as Buck Buchanan and Otis Taylor were but two examples. Hall of Fame players who came from the traditionally black universities. Mr. Hunt had spotted this untapped gusher of talent before his peers, increasing the talent level of his new league by leaps and bounds. Dad always said that with Mr. Lamar Hunt, it was never about skin color, only ability. As they talked together more and more, Dad could see Mr. Hunt was resolute in his intention to not only allow black players, but to encourage blacks in his league. He intended to break down a door that had only been cracked open a little by the NFL. Although he was the founder of the league, Mr. Hunt would also be the owner of the franchise in Dallas. Dad thought this was a perfect situation for him. He would be able to fulfill his dream of playing professional football a mere 3 blocks away from his family home. Dad and Mr. Hunt reached an agreement, and being the kind of man he was, Mr. Hunt insisted on being at the Sun Bowl game, Dad's last college game, to sign him immediately after the game. He signed under the goalpost of the Sun Bowl. I've heard this many a time. Mr. Hunt was a vigorous man who knew what he was after, so they had a great time with it all. And there, Dad signed his first professional contract, right there in El Paso under the goalposts of the Sun Bowl. Dad came in, they talk about, as I've known lots of his teammates throughout my life, we've talked at gatherings over the years, and they talk about that first training camp that they had, which got Dad ready for the rigors of his first professional season. Dad came in with guns blazing. He was named and is still the only player in the history of professional football that was ever the Rookie of the Year and the MVP in the same season.
It's just funny. I was drafted by Minnesota, and about 2 hours later, phone rang again. And it's the Oakland Raiders telling me, we've traded for you. You are now an Oakland Raider. By the time I got home that evening, Lamar Hunt had called from the Dallas Texans. They had decided to integrate the new American League. And I was being selected by Dallas.
Abner Haynes was one of the league's first megastars. Starting his career with the Dallas Texans, in 1960 he led the AFL in rushing with 875 yards and won the league's Rookie and Player of the Year honors.
Boston throwing to Haynes, he's got him to 20, he's over to 5, and he's over. Haynes scores.
I guess I was a good runner. I liked to hit, and I wasn't scared.
His time with the Chiefs was wonderful for him, dominant on the field, but there were bumps along the road. Dad often told me how he would be at a practice or have a great practice that day or a great game, only to come home tonight in a celebratory mood and turn on the TV and see his people with the German Shepherd dog sicked on them, shot with water cannons, and their crime was the audacity of wanting to be treated fairly. And it created tension between him and teammates, him and ownership. The status was just unbearable to him in time. He often would say that he was supposed to just play football, accept the perks and benefits of being a professional athlete, and keep his mouth shut about the way we do the rest of the blacks. And that coming from a young man whose family had been leading black people since he was a young child, that was unacceptable to him. Not here to bash the NFL at all, and certainly not the Chiefs. It was the way it was at that time. And not one man, but together. They came together, worked together, won together, and this nation changed. One of Dad's greatest friends was a man from Stanford named Chris Burford. There were lots of firsts. Chris Burford and his wife lived in Dallas, a wide receiver on the team, great wide receiver. But I often remember them telling me of, in 1960, he broke an unsaid rule in that he invited my father and mother to their house for dinner. Something that small to us now was a giant thing in 1960. It just wasn't done. Certainly not in Dallas. But it wasn't done, in America. And this is an example of the kind of men that were brought together that made all of this thing work and brought us all to a better, more perfect union. There are others. I don't want to start calling names here, but there were others. Cheryl Hedrick, E.J. Holland, Jerry Mays, they would have none of it as they traveled and were in different cities in the South, in the West, and the racism would always come up. A place not wanting to serve Dad, him not being able to stay in a hotel, this, that, and the other. But these men stood with him like a brother would. Dad used to always tell me many times that there was nobody he'd rather be in a fight with in a back alley than E.J. Holler. I really liked Mr. Holler. Every time I saw him, he was decked out in his country regalia, head to toe. He was going to have a 10-gallon hat on, cowboy boots, big belt buckle, but he loved Abner Haynes, and he was not trying to hear it for anybody to disrespect him in any way. They won together. They won the AFL championship in 1962 against the Houston Oilers at Jefferson Stadium.
December 23rd, 1962. The Houston Oilers and Dallas Texans would play in the AFL's third title game, live on ABC. This was the day the new league would take its first step into the American spotlight.
Number 16, defensive quarterback. Intercepted by number 45, Dave Grayson's at the 40, 35, 30. It's a fake to McClinton. Dawson throwing to Haynes. He's got him to the 20. He's under the 5, and he's over. Haynes scores. The game is tied 17-17. Dawson will hold in the 24. And watch it. The big rush is on. The kick is up. The kick is good. Dallas is the champion. Dallas wins it on a 24-yard field goal by Tommy Booker. Their coach, Hank Stram, carried off.
They had tremendous success together. And here again, we are a better place because these men went through this together. They challenged the status quo and moved us all forward. His teammates, his coaches, Mr. Hank Stram was his main coach for most of his time there. And Coach Stram knew what my dad was going through. Even that first year, the whole Kansas City Chiefs team, there was only 3 black players on the whole team.
They just decided that Kansas City don't have a team. Let's take Dallas to Kansas City and become the Kansas City Chiefs. That's Mr. Hunt and our coaching staff, Hank Stram.
Today, he still enjoys rooting for his beloved Chiefs, especially quarterback Patrick Mahomes.
I think it's great that he even has the opportunity to expand that position. Football is a game that's been played a long time. Things have been learned and improved on.
That's where we have come from. And thank God for the people who are further along in their thinking, who can see opportunity for all and togetherness and working together, that they dominated the day and got this ball rolling to where, today, anybody can be anything that their hard work, commitment, sacrifice will allow them to be. We have a lot of sport and individuals to thank for moving us forward.
Between Dallas and Houston, he's not here. The Haynes family is here, came for several generations, and Abner's son David is here. David, thank you for being here. We welcome you. And what would you like the folks here to know about your dad's legacy and what he means to the sport of college football?
Well, I first want to thank the PWC SMU Athletic Forum for selecting and honoring my dad. When we told him about it, he was very excited, and he felt really appreciative of the recognition. I don't know. I mean, I can tell you a lot of things. One thing that people really don't know about him is the things he did at North Texas, University of North Texas, breaking the color barrier and kind of paving the way for, untold students after him. It was that classic situation where preparation meets opportunity. His father, our grandfather, was the late Bishop Abner Haynes of the Church of God in Christ. And he pastored 3 churches in Denton, Dallas, and Mahia, Texas. So they were already leading people. And my dad used to tell us, every day of the week they were in church somewhere. And they were the ones that turned the lights on and turned the lights off. And he felt a great appreciation for the University of North Texas as well, because of the preparation that he had and the willingness of those forward-thinking and fair-minded people at UNT. He was able to do the things he did. The country was different then. There was a lot of racial strife. He carried, and he knew this, even at 17, 18 years old, he carried a lot of the hopes and dreams of the Black community in Dallas. They wanted to be unoppressed. They wanted to be free to live like everybody else. And this experiment with a Black player on a university team in Texas was, they all followed that. He was a member of their church. And because it was successful, lots of people benefited after that. And he just was very proud that UNT gave him the chance. You had guys that found out a Black player was joining the team and quit, just like that. Didn't want to have any part of it. But there were other men. The president of the university was named Dr. J.C. Matthews. He would come to practice and sit in the stands to make sure that our dad got a fair shake. He played with me. We can't call anybody's name, but there were people there. Fred McCain, Bill Carrico, Raymond Clements, Dwayne Day. They would protect my dad against, whoever was coming at him to try to discourage what they were doing. And he just thinks so much of the university because others weren't there yet and didn't want to do that. And so our family has a good feeling about the University of North Texas.
Okay. Well, football is hard enough, but you carry the pressure and the burden of being a pioneer and representing yourself and your family and your school and so many other people and being a symbol of strength. Please pass along the entire room's best wishes to your dad and congratulate him as well. David, thank you for being here. Thank you. Appreciate that.
Thank you for your work.
Here to present the 2021 PWC Doak Walker Legends Award, please welcome PWC Managing Partner, Scott Moore.
David, thank you for those incredible remarks. It's been wonderful the past couple of days to spend time with you and your family, get to know you better, and we won't get the chance to spend time with your dad tonight, and I don't know your dad, but I feel like I've been able to get a real picture of your dad to spend time with you and your family, so thank you for sharing that with us. So thank you. It's a privilege to play a small role in tonight's celebration. PWC is very proud to be a longtime sponsor of the PWC SCU Athletic Forum, to support the Doak Walker Award, and to present the PWC Doak Walker Legends Award. When the SCU Athletic Forum created this award in 1998, its goal was to honor those who never had the opportunity to earn the prestigious Doak Walker Award. As you saw in the video, tonight's recipient, Abner Haynes, is a Dallas area legend who was instrumental in building football's popularity in Dallas, a product of Dallas ISD's Lincoln High School, a star at North Texas State, now known as the University of North Texas, and later the Dallas Texans. His trailblazing efforts to help integrate college football and professional football in Texas set the course for so many young people of color to have opportunities. He is indeed a Dallas Texans, Kansas City Chiefs legend, being inducted into the Chiefs Hall of Honor, having his number 28 retired, and we are so grateful that Clark Hunt is here tonight to celebrate Abner. We all wish Abner Haynes the best, and regret he is not able to be here tonight to join us. But I know he was extremely honored to receive this award. We are grateful that daughter Olivia and sons Abner Jr., Byron and David, and all the Haynes family are here to celebrate your dad's achievement. I'd like to ask the Haynes family to come to the stage. After the entire family accepts the award, we're in for a special treat. On behalf of PWC, it is my distinct honor to present the 2021 PWC Doak Walker Legends Award to Abner Haynes, and accepting on his behalf, his family, led by grandsons Carter and Isaac.
One man's determination broke barriers, inspired generations, and changed the game forever. Abner Haynes, football trailblazer, equality champion, and a beacon of hope. Through his son's eyes, his legacy shines beyond the field, sparking change today. This is more than a biography. It's a call to action. Abner Haynes, An American Hero by King David Haynes, now on Amazon.